I'm a new Christian. Now what? Part 1. The Mandates to Love. What does it mean to be a disciple, follower of Jesus? Every new Christian must wrestle with this question and conclude upon an answer. That being said, it should be obvious that if one's personal definition is at a variance with Jesus' definition of true discipleship, then that one, whatever else he may be, is not a disciple that Jesus Christ would recognize. So, what did Jesus have to say about the issue? But when the Pharisees heard that Jesus Christ had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together, and one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question to test or find fault in him. "Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law?" And Christ said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and first or primary commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law and the prophets." Matthew 22:34-40, ESV. Therefore, according to Jesus Christ, discipleship is summed up in one word: love. However, this love is prioritized. Jesus clearly states that a disciple should be primarily concerned with his love for God, loving Him with all of one's heart, all of one's soul, and all of one's mind. That is, the disciple described by Christ is first and foremost fully devoted to God, then to one's neighbors insomuch as such coincides with devotion to God. Now, Christ's two-part definition of discipleship begs 4 questions that every proselyte must answer. First part of the definition: a disciple loves God. Who and what is God? How do we know God and how to have right faith in Him? Second part of the definition: a disciple loves his neighbor. How are we to interact with other disciples before God? How should our relationship with God affect other relationships? Nonetheless, answering these questions isn't as straightforward as some would like. That is, before answering these questions, one must determine how answers are to be obtained. How does one know that his or her answers are true? When one starts investigating such things, one is determining one's worldview, the lens through which a person makes sense of the world. Ultimately, it is one's worldview which determines the answers he or she will obtain. In summary, you now know that disciples are those who, 1, love God, and who, 2, love their neighbor. You also know that this two-part definition begs 4 fundamental questions that every disciple must be able to answer, implicitly if not explicitly. Lastly, you have been exposed to the idea that one's worldview will determine how one answers these questions. Consequently, we will explore the biblical historical worldview in our next video.